everybody. This is Covert Reality. We are just in the very second last day of 2016, and all the people in the know would know that there's a carbon tax scramble right now in our country of Canada, and it's kind of sad because you've got other nations out there that aren't even speaking of that. They can see right through the fraud. Now, the thing that concerns me is no one is even talking about geoengineering at all, that it's even happening. There, even Donald Trump's been speaking of, that there's flawed, that it's a fraud, right? So the fact that he has said it's a fraud, it's scrambled a lot of the science leagues to come together and try to come up with an excuse as to why it's a fraud, but in a way different manner than what they want the public to know. They don't want the public to know that we're being sprayed. They don't want us to know, and they don't want to lose that trust with the public. So they're really trying hard to blame it on something else, like that's more of a scientific thing that people probably get lost on. They'll just leave it to the scientists, they'll say, but they literally forced the scientists recently to come out and say, yeah, carbon tax is a fraud in the States. They're describing it in a certain way that hides the fact that they've been spraying us. It just kind of goes to shoot down the legitimacy of even why we worried about the temperature changes in our atmosphere or in our world due to climate change scares or some sort of rhetoric. And so they just kind of proved in a different way, and we already knew this, that the planet was not even warming at a fast enough rate to worry about it. So why the big push, right? Well, here we're almost a couple days into 2007, or a couple of days before 2017 is going to be in, and I have a lot of things to say on today's episode. I know it's been a couple weeks since, or maybe 3 weeks since I've done I think the last one I had done was December 12th, so yes, it has been, a good couple weeks and a couple days. But a lot of things have happened over the last while that have made me really sit back and really think about, what's going on, gathering every little bit of information that I can, again, rejoining and reconnecting with other ideas that are out there, or suggestions of outer body planets that may be brushing against our planet. I had heard from Steve Quayle that he had mentioned about a week ago that, which made me think really hard. I don't know if it's true, but it made a lot of sense. That he said that they've always known that Nibiru, or whatever you want to call it, Planet X, whatever you want to call it, was going to be brushing close to our Earth, and so they knew this, and that what he was mentioning was that it would be so close, it would break through our ionosphere, and it would bring in so much cold air. It would literally like freeze the planet entirely of ice. It would just totally freeze the planet of ice. So I thought to myself, wow, that's pretty intense, so it would be like if they were to come out and say that to the public, there could be major chaos. Now, I've always thought that, and a lot of people in the geoengineering, chemtrail exposing movement, or not even a movement, just the people that are, really honestly awake and focused enough to understand that we're being sprayed. Now, these operations are so nefarious. I don't want to get sidetracked here, but we have a lot at play here that's working to hide the fact that we are being sprayed so much that that's the United States I'm talking about. In Canada here, they want to. I got sidetracked back there. I do apologize. But in Canada here, they are fiercely going for carbon taxation. But this was a plan from United Nations since the late 40s, early 50s. In 1974, our Pierre Trudeau, Canada Prime Minister at the time, had brought in private banks. Rothschilds used him to bring in the private banking system, which literally gave Canadians, pretty much no plug in their bathtub. So we always had water of money just trickling down the bottom, and we didn't know where that was going. It was going to a lot of nefarious military operations through the Rothschild Bank. So we're trying to get that back now. But isn't it funny that Pierre Trudeau's son, Justin Trudeau, is now the Prime Minister again, not again, but his son is now the Prime Minister. Exactly how many years is that? 26, 36, 42 years, almost 43 years. So almost 42 to 43 years later, his son's in, and now he's trying to just push this carbon tax thing really quickly on the rest of the world, without even checking in with other provinces like Alberta, for example, with their platforms. You know, they were asked by the Prime Minister to come up with platforms. I guess Christina McKenna, or whatever her name is, Catherine McKenna, had asked other, provinces to put in their say on what their carbon tax format or their platform would be. But he had left and went to CETA and literally signed the agreement into form for the United Nations, I do believe, to put this on to the rest of the planet without even anyone even giving any platforms. So it's very, really strange, but people have to understand that he was also housed in Buckingham Palace, Justin Trudeau, when Prime Minister Trudeau was our Prime Minister. That's where his son, Justin, was brought up, and they did a lot of mind control stuff there with him, and they probably garnished his brain into this point of time to be, when he's up there at the podium, to be literally under hypnosis to sell off the country under a false fraud entity, that's been proven not to exist. Like if all the science leagues out there are saying, look, it's not even, it's a big fraud, like it's a huge fraud, why aren't the people listening to that? Because there's a prominent scientists that are saying it. So I'm hoping that something comes out about that. But now I know I got off track a while back. I'm trying to get back into what I was trying to say. But 2017 coming up in a couple days brings a lot of different changes. Now I'm suspended from 100.3 FM due to very ridiculous things. So I've not been suspended. I don't really want to say that. I've been literally, we ruffled so many feathers by having 24 episodes, 6 months of a radio program on Covert Reality broadcasting from 100.3 FM. But so much stuff had happened in there, and I'll say it out loud. Anyone that wants to mess with the public trust is going to be called out. Dan Keller, you are called out because you have literally acted as a VP at 100.3, and you did whatever you could over the 6-month period of time to get under my skin so much. But after a while, I just realized that we were ruffling so many feathers that's why they were just literally trying to get us off of there. Probably because the radio station is being threatened with being existing anymore unless they get me off the air. So VP comes in and does stuff like that. Dan Keller has got that personality to do that kind of thing. Similar to shills, like recently I have a whole 4 days after Covert Reality was told by a board of directors meeting that I'd be suspended for 3 months based on 2 reasons. One being that I would mention that David Keith and geoengineering scientists like him are evil. And another reason, number 2 reason, was because I mentioned that Syrian refugee fluxes coming into Canada, we have to really watch and screen them because some of them could be smashing up stuff and causing problems like raping and stuff. So those are 2 reasons that got me suspended for 3 months. But what people have to understand is the original reason was for something entirely different, and it was for only 3 weeks. So something had changed and gave me 3 months based on 2 bogus reasons, because they're not bogus, they're real situations. So I'm not, so I'm wondering, like, okay, so why is it 3 months? Well, it's because the policies that are going to be brought in, this fake carbon tax in Canada, they don't want anybody waking up the public right now. They want to shut everybody up. And I'm not talking about me. I am talking about me right now, but I'm talking about everybody else when I say that. And so they're trying to shut us up. Any media outlet that's been focusing on that literally see through the facade are being pegged as fake news. Now that's going to backfire because all of the ABC and MSNBC, they're all owned by the Clinton Foundation. So when you got Hillary Clinton and the Clinton Foundation funding the Bill and Hillary Clinton Foundation funding major media, George Soros giving a lot of money in to also support racism, all sorts of stuff, to keep people angry in their apartments and in their homes at the world. These people are the biggest guilty parties, because they're the ones calling out fake news as being the one, like we're the ones that have documents. We're just looking at their documents. So this is what I mean by backfiring, is that their documents are what we're looking at. So when they say we're fake news, we've always known that they're fake, what they're doing to us. So they're just going to lose that battle, because they've called out really huge enterprises that are really huge, and they're calling them out as fake when all they've been doing. InfoWars is what I'm talking about, and Breitbart and other like Lisa Haven, the Next News Network, Gary Franchi. A lot of these places are being, and myself, I've already been, thrown off. But I feel like I really didn't have a chance at all to even talk about what had been going on at the station, because the board of directors were not going to give me any time to speak. I happened to be in Brantford at the time, and I couldn't get to the station in time, and I wasn't going to go all the way to Cambridge and then try to find my way to... It was a Sunday night, too, meeting at 8 p.m., and I'm telling you, man, I wasn't going to go all the way to Kitchener to a meeting at that late to only have a couple minutes to speak, and they were going to just tell me about the infraction from the CRTC that got me suspended, which was the 2 reasons. That was supposedly from the CRTC. I don't think I believe that at all. I think they just made it up, because one of my guests there, Lawrence McCurry, that I've been working with for a while, was going to come on the radio show, and it just so happened to be that Lawrence knew that a few of the people at my radio show were people that were, lying to the public back in 2010 about what happened at G20. And so I guess when I was going to have Lawrence on, a few of the people at my radio station went ballistic and started slandering him and calling him white Nazi supremacist. That's why I first got suspended, was because I was going to have him on. But then it ended up being like something totally different. Now I know why it is. They had to make up different reasons, because we called them out. I sent a letter to the board of directors, 100.3 FM, calling them out, saying, look, this is what it is. My buddy Lawrence and I and my friend Dan Dix, Press for Truth, and a few other organizations were looking at G20, and we knew what was going on. We were there. We saw what was going on. The fraud was so gigantic in front of us, it was unbelievable. But some other people in Southern Ontario were dismaying, were disrespecting the truth and playing with the public trust. And they shouldn't be doing that, lying to the rest of Southern Ontario about what goes on, and just to lie for so they get paid by bigger interest. That's just got to stop. We have to stop doing that. So they were just totally afraid that Lawrence was going to call them out, rightfully so. So I'm glad that it all happened. I know a few people in the chemtrail movement and geoengineering, exposing movement to try to stop and ban geoengineering. I know a lot of people probably thought, oh man, what a waste. This guy, it wasn't even about geoengineering, that episode with Lawrence McCurry. Well, yes, it was. It had a lot to do with it. Lawrence McCurry was somebody who had introduced me to the Canadian Awareness Network, and they had done a 17-minute interview with me in Toronto about geoengineering. So he opened the door up for that back in 2012, I believe that was, or 2013, I think it was 2012. But so I appreciate that with him. And Lawrence has always been a friend of mine, an investigative type that was involved in all sorts of stuff throughout the last decade of my life. The North American Union, the Security and Prosperity Partnership Agreement, our Bank of Canada being reinstated and being sold off to the Rothschilds, us losing our sovereignty, G20, agent provocateurs. Look, the list goes on. Lawrence is a great guy. There was no reason to slander him. It was funny because elements of the radio station, the VP himself, Dan Keller, and Alex Hundert, someone that used to be at the radio station, literally came out and slandered my guest before he even got a chance to come on, and called him a white Nazi and all this stuff. And I knew it wasn't what Lawrence was. So right away I went, okay, people on my radio station are definitely shills or do not know Lawrence. So, they did so much to get me out of there. I can't even believe it. I can't even believe what Dan Keller went through like a flying monkey to go through, to bother me, to meet me at different places. I've already went through all this, so I'm not going to go through it again. But it's unbelievable. What I'm trying to get at, though, is in the last little while, and getting back on track, last little while I've been getting 4 days after, now I'm getting back on track to what I was going to say, 4 days after the board of directors meeting took place, and I was told that I'd be suspended for 3 months based on 2 bogus reasons. Well, they didn't say they're bogus, but I know they're bogus. So do you out there that's listening. Now know. But, so this is serious. This is Southern Ontario, FM dial radio station being tampered with the truth, messing with your minds and messing with your trust. And they should be held accountable. It's Dan Keller, Kellar, Dan Keller. He's got a kid. He comes around the station and he antagonizes and slanders and ridicules and harasses and just, he's a horrible person. I mean, he's working for these people that either pay him or the station and fund them to get away with stuff. Anyway, when I was suspended, only 4 days after the meeting, I started getting all sorts of, like December 1st it started, and December 2nd, 3rd, 5th, 6th, 8th, 9th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 21st, 23rd, 25th, the 28th, 29th. I was sent all these like fake female woman bogus Facebook accounts. And it only happened 4 days after I was like not any longer at 100.3 FM. And it just happens to be that the last time that happened to me was back in 2010 when we were exposing G20. It also happened back when we were exposing the North American Union back in 2008. Confronted Paul Martin back in 2008 about that at the London University, and it was gladfully put into United We Fall. I think my part should have been put in there too. It was pretty awesome. But just because I got a round of applause at the end from about 600 people, and then Paul Martin said what he had to say, that got put into United We Fall by Press for Truth. Thank you very much for putting that in. Just kind of like, let's credit people at least where credit is due. I'm not looking for a cake. I'm not looking for a party hat. I'm just looking for respect. So I'm just trying to say that we tried to expose these things a long time ago, and I had the same thing happen. I had these fake female Facebook accounts sent to me. They're obviously fake. There are only like 9 friends on the list. They're all guys. They're all the guys on the list that actually think that that's a real girl on there. But I have a weird feeling that, like, I was always wondering what kind of personality, what kind of person just like goes and puts a bogus picture of any female from the internet, puts it up there, starts a fake little Facebook account with an email. They must just start email after email after email. But they just keep a big file of all these fake accounts to literally just bother people online that are trying to tell the truth. Dan Keller, I believe that it's always been you. For Southern Ontario, that's a huge thing, man. I've been told by people in Toronto that you're like one of the, maybe I shouldn't say this because you don't deserve it, but I've been heard that you're like, one of the few heavyweights that have been really good at being a total jackass to the rest of the people that are trying to broadcast out of your station that are just seriously talking about truth. Now, it opens up a big can of worms as to who works for you and who you work for, especially when you have David Keith on, the most evil scientist himself. You have him on to disprove what we talk about at Covert Reality. Really just kind of made me happy. It kind of made me feel like I achieved something, but also showed that you are what side you're on. To have David Keith on and to bash what we say on Covert Reality and give Dave Keith credit is dangerous. You just literally shot yourself in the foot. The public trust is important, and you just literally crossed the line. The two-row wampum line is not to be crossed. Anyone that knows the two-row wampum will know that. There's 2 lines, they never cross each other, not once. They don't go. They may rub close aside one another, but they never impose or poke or anything. And if they do, then it must be mutual. But I'm telling you, I just went through a lot of heck. But anyway, I just wanted to just kind of let you know that we're right in the middle of a part where I feel, and there's a bunch of us together now in the anti-geoengineering movement that are trying to ban geoengineering. Jolie Diane and Alexandra May Hunter, are active in doing a lot of things in the United States to ban geoengineering in Rhode Island and California, also in Maryland. So that's really good. So we're trying to find out ways, and I'm really trying this week to study on how to make a bill. So I want to have this broadcast be about encouraging others that if you want the spraying to stop, we need to get right to the chase and make up a bill, learn how to make up a bill of legislation that talks about the health and safety implications that arise through geoengineering operations and spraying. Health and safety is the best way we can go about, like Jolie Diane had explained on our last broadcast from 100.3 FM. Actually, Jolie Diane had mentioned on air that the process is a little bit different in the United States as it is in Canada. But she had, been very awesome at letting people know and encouraging them to take action themselves and into introducing their own bill of legislation to stop geoengineering. So I'm just really wanting to encourage everybody out there listening to look into that and to talk to your local MP, anyone you can, but learn how to write up a bill. That's what I'm doing this week. I feel a lot of pressure for all of us in the know that know about this to take it to the next level, where we need to go to Ottawa. We need to go to our MP's offices. We need to literally show them paperwork that shows that, look, we have a bill of legislation we would like presented, and it saves them a lot of work to have to go through the process. So maybe this will be a step in the right direction to stop this, because we have to come together as concerned citizens to show our legislative body that we're no longer mice or fodder, or we're no longer slaves to their system, because that system is gone away, and it's going away soon. But the thing is that system wants to thrive so much on keeping us at bay and keeping us oppressed that it will probably try to cause like wars with Russia, which is what's happening. It's funny. The new sworn-in president wants to have peace with Russia, but the prime minister that's been caught in spending all sorts, like the worst spender prime minister in the history of the United States, in the history of the entire United States, Barack Obama has spent the most in of all of the presidents combined. So that goes to show a lot. So I just want to mention that to you, and I'm going to give a little break, a little musical break, and we will be right back. And just want to kind of slow it down a bit, because there's a lot of things I want to say, and I've been saying them 100 miles an hour here. But we're really at a trying time, everybody. I live in a country that's literally trying to sucker all the people in Canada. Literally. And we have smart meters. We have smart dust. The smart dust is brought in through the chemtrail spraying. And that's nanotechnology invading us. And the smart meters, it's all going to control us. We need to really take this seriously, because this isn't just something that's like having a little bit more calories. This is literally weaponized military operations that will keep going on as long as the public is completely in the dark. We need to be vigilant and let these people know that we're not putting up with it anymore. Find out about geoengineering, its impacts, look at the health and safety implications, write up a bill of legislation, present it to your MP or legislative body. Let's get to it, folks. We'll be right back after the break. And we're back on Covert Reality here, and I really want to say thank you to everyone out there that's doing whatever they possibly can to expose and to wake up their fellow woman and man, and brothers and sisters, and moms and dads, and grandpas, and anyone in their family. We can't let this just go by, because carbon taxation is not even legitimate. This is a plan put on a long time ago, and we need to uncover this, because Canada, it's not gonna be good. And like, when the rest of the world is woken up to weather modification, and there's plenty of evidence to it, there's going to be a lot of things that need to be addressed. And when the administrations and the police and no one and the environmental departments are doing absolutely nothing about it, which is a great example. If you want to check out online, Madison Star Moon, Amanda Danielle on Facebook, check out her videos. She does a lot of confrontations with the FAA and the EPA, all sorts of different organizations, and even the Department of Defense, like all sorts of different places that should be doing something about it. And they really are not. They don't want to answer anything, and literally leaving everyone in the cold on this issue really shows that the Navy is playing God here, and it really shows that whoever, like Bill Gates, is funding, Bill Gates is funding David Keith. David Keith, the evil scientist that I've been suspended for 3 months for. I'm not going back to 100.3 FM unless they ask me to. I was just kind of hoping that people would realize I'm no longer on there, and that Covert Reality is no longer on there. I don't want it to be about me. It's about the message we need to get across. So the fact that I'm not being able to talk about this assault on our atmosphere is a crime in its own. So that's why I got to keep kind of doing these things. But I find every week, sometimes things aren't, moving as fast. I mean, there's so many things happening every week, but I'm kind of glad I sat back. I was going to do a video a couple of days ago, but I thought, no, there's so many things that are happening. I'm just going to wait it out. But what I wanted to talk about was a few things in this episode. So the last half hour of this episode of Covert Reality, I wanted to speak of smart dust, and the way that they've already kind of imposed a lot of this technology, nanotech, into our bodies. And a lot of us are feeling very, different and not with it, and their immune system's falling apart. That's because the nanotech is taking over your body, and you got aluminum in your body that's more than most people would have. The reason being is that if you don't understand that they're spraying in the atmosphere on a day that you go out, you're doing your groceries, you're walking down the street, or you're jogging, or you're playing tennis, or you're playing road hockey, or out on the ice, and you're outside, and this will literally raise your heart rate. It will increase your neurological system, your neural system, all of your neurological, your veins, everything, your sensories and that get literally kind of abused, and taken over and infiltrated and hijacked. This is a bigger side of it. They've been literally hiding this roboticism, trans-humanism, transformation under the guise of, weather modification. So people would spend a lot of time on, wait a minute, they're making the weather into a weapon, that's another side of it, But they can literally spray us with anything. And then you get all these new sicknesses. People don't know what's going on. This has been happening for forever, as far as I'm concerned. I believe the military and the Navy, when the public wakes up and they have too many people on the planet, where it ends up being where it's just like getting to be too ridiculous, or maybe it's because too many people are woken up to their scam, they literally use the technology against the people again. And then literally, history repeats itself in a way where it seems like the military just keeps gathering, everything it can, using its bullyism and unfairness to steal technologies to use against the public to make themselves grow bigger. And if you disagree with that, you're on their enemy combatant list. That's where I lay, and many other people are on right now. A lot of people are being targeted right now as being fake news. are being targeted as being working for the dark side or whatever. And you know what? That's all going to just rub right back in your face because we're not stupid anymore. I do a lot of segments now on, you'll notice on Covert Reality, if you go to Covert Reality on YouTube, you'll notice that I do some reading the Cambridge Times episodes. Now they're boring as heck, but people out there need to understand that how much oppression we are literally under. We have a, and this is just Cambridge, Ontario, and it used to be Galt, Preston, Hesper, it still is. Cambridge was just brought in 1974 when the private banks came in, and the name was changed to Cambridge, corporate Cambridge, right? The corporate city of Cambridge, city of the corporation of Cambridge, so it's a corporation now. And that's where we lose. That's where the bottom of the, the tub of water, when you pull the plug out, kind of like starts to deteriorate, because in 1974 was also when the private banks came in and started issuing interest on the loans. So, and before we didn't have that. So we have a lot of things happening at a rapid pace. When you have a lot of guys in the past, they're sitting there knowing that they'd be able to play with the future and to heat the ionosphere, make crop circles with the same technology, weaponize pulse weapons with the same technology to give people mass heart attacks. You can give a bunch of people heart attacks all at once. You just got to position a small little pulse. You could even make it like a, half a foot diameter, target the upper chest of somebody, and implement the pulse wave when they're spraying. And it's only when they're spraying this becomes conductible. So where you can be a target in this, and they can take people out. You notice a lot of people dying is all because of neurological diseases or heart rate failure, right? Heart attacks. You notice this, but this is all because of the spraying. And everybody in every city by now has been warning their local authorities and warning their local administrations, and no one's talking to them. Everyone's trying to make them look like a criminal. I myself have been abused so many times. You police officers know who you are. You feel guilt to this day because all you people that now know why I was at the City Hall in the first place will now start to question why the City Hall would be trying to make me look like I'm a criminal when I'm just bringing in information of aluminum contamination into all of our bodies because of the spraying. Yeah, since 2007 to 2010 to now, that's too long to allow something like this happen. Our soil to deteriorate, can't grow anything anymore. You mayors, Doug Craig, Carl Zare, all you guys, or whatever your names are, a lot of you guys just need to back off. I mean, you've had your days, you've gotten to gluttony that it's honestly starting to expose yourself. I don't even need to say it, but I need to say this though: the Knights of Malta need to be exposed. I think that if you have a Knights of Malta member, it's a secret society, right? I'm not even going to bash the Knights of Malta. I'm just going to say this though: if you want to be a secret society, and if you want to, support the Knights of Malta, your name's Doug Craig. And if you're Doug Craig and you support the Knights of Malta, which you do, I can show all sorts of evidence to that. Then you would be supporting someone named Frank Montero. And Frank Montero is Ward 4's council member. That's my ward. It's also the ward they're making all sorts of military judgmentation here. And they're going to start rounding people up here in some weird way, causing havoc. They're already getting ready for it. You can check out on Covert Reality on YouTube as well. Signs of, what is it called? Signs of preparing for civil unrest in Cambridge, Ontario. And just letting you know, I'm not even the one doing this stuff. I'm just letting people know what's happening. So, that's all we're doing. And it's funny how right now all of us are being pegged as fake news and that we'll all be taken down. Well, that's just going to backfire because the public has already woken up. And when they find out you've done that, you're going to be trying to create civil unrest yourself. We know that that's happening. We know you've been trying to create civil unrest yourself. So these are all the things you're trying to do. Bring in refugees in, and most of them are good people. There's going to be some of them that aren't, and they're literally here just to smash stuff. They're going to be given orders, times to strike, sleeper cells will be put in. They're already here. Supposedly they've already been here for a while, and I wouldn't want to be any of them because I'd be terrified right now when the world wakes up to what's going on. I mean, we look at France, we look at Europe, and I just can't even believe it. I'm suspended from a radio station right at the perfect time where policies will already be set in place by the time I go back to the radio station So everything I'm trying to do to reverse what's going on, I can't do because of this 3-month suspension. It's all because of Dan Keller. Because of one guy. And if you met this guy, you would be blown away by how, if I had him on video, the times he came by with his son in a stroller while he treated me like garbage and made fun of me and laughed at me and said, oh, you don't have proof. Yeah, Chad, like you said last week. Yeah, like they were spraying all week. Yeah, right. He literally is talking like that. I'm not making that. I'm not even going overboard there. I'm trying to be exactly the way he is. But he'd show up right before every show that was about the broadcast because he knew that it would bother someone. A VP at a radio station knows that when you're there bothering them at their radio station, bringing people in, and then during and before, even after requesting that they don't do that, you know something's up. So, I just want to let you know that Canada is under a very scrutinized time where good people better come up, and those people that have been evil, like Dan Keller types, Alex Hundert, anyone else who wants to support that kind of crap is going to go down. You guys are going to be looked at like the most worst, pathetic time in history of people that we've ever had in our society. Bill Gates, David Keith, all you guys know that you're going down. So you're trying whatever you can, man, to make us look like, all deniers of climate change should be killed. That's what quotes are going out like that. We should all be taken care of. Yeah, okay, we understand the plan. We understood it a long time ago. Climate deniers were what? Going to be, set into mental health facilities up in either Fairbanks or Gaycona. I think it's Fairbanks, Alaska. They have like a $2 million, or a $2 million, sorry, way more than $2 million, 2 million person capability for that they're going to be moving people there to. And I've just read a lot about this through the Security and Prosperity Partnership Agreement through the Super NAFTA highway system. Anyway, so that's LRT and all this stuff, roundabouts and that. This is for when the power goes out. LRT will still be running. Roundabouts will get people moving without having chaos at the streetlights. Anyway, folks, I just want to say this. I want your 2017 to be, and I know this is probably a bad time to bring up such great cheer because I've ended off in such gloominess, but we're literally being sprayed and played by our science league. University of Waterloo is one of the biggest players, and I want everyone there to literally, in the environmental department, to shake their heads and back away from the evil of carbon taxation that they're told to do, and be a hero, become a good person. And in 2017, I want everybody to really understand that we may not be the same Canada that we have wanted to be. We never even had the chance. Even the natives under Canada were stolen from them, and it was a mockery to change the name from Canada and change to a C and call it Canada with a D instead of a T as well. So, and then take over land, push them to a certain spot, and then ignore through the British colony old agreements and pledges that were given, and Haldeman Proclamation that was given to the land, and it's just still being treated like garbage. So in 2017, I want all you people to understand that we have a chance to either furthermore our sovereignty and peace through thinking about what Donald Trump is saying is exactly what we need to consider. We don't want to be programmed under a private banking system, and our only chance to get away from any of this is to make the right decisions and to just make your 2017 as good as you can. As a message to all you geoengineering activists, the first 3 weeks of January are going to be the most intense. We need to be aware there could be something happening within the presidency of the United States, because Donald Trump does not take office till the 20th. So many things can happen between then and now. There's a coup that's working against on the inside to hopefully keep things intact. So he will be the prime minister. He will come in. I mean, he will be the president. We need to trickle that attitude to Canada. But so far, our administration in Canada here is doing totally the opposite, where carbon tax and global warming has been called as a fraud in the United States. And just over the border here, we're going to be taxed exponentially, and we're also going to be monitored even more with the smart dust they're spraying the atmosphere, nanotechnology, with the smart meters are all working together. Anything that has smart in the middle of it or on it you should really consider not buying it or buying into it. It's only going to be there to furthermore surveil you. So 2017, folks, I'm trying to be positive. But the only way we're going to make it a really good positive is if we all take action and we all really become vigilant and smart and don't just stick our heads in the sand. Have a really happy new year. Love all you guys. And till the next episode of Covert Reality, enjoy your new year and all the best.